Magic makers, and welcome back to the Metaphysical Apothecary. We are your hosts, Shannon and Megan.
Hi, everyone.
Also known as the Scorpio Sisters, here to explore the mysterious, the magical, and the arcane.
Today's topic is inspired by a TikTok I saw on Witch Talk. In it, the person who was speaking was talking about hard truths in the pagan community that we don't want to face. And for the most part, I agree with this person's observations, but this was one that kind of swung me in a different direction from what their opinion was. What this person said was, not everyone can have the same 6 spirit guides. And it got me thinking. We're seeing many people in the screaming 20s turn to Loki, Hades, Lilith, Hecate, the divine infernal, or the infernal divine. Lucifer is another one that many people are turning to, and we're finding communities within each other. It's almost like talking about your dad in a way, where you have a bunch of siblings and you're all sitting around talking about what a kind of a dork your dad is, but we're all talking about Loki, or we're talking about how pretentious Lucifer can be. And I'm allowed to say that about both of them because I happen to work with both of them. In fact, I work with most of the deities I just mentioned. So do a lot of people. Shannon and I both work with Loki. We both work with Hades. Loki has recently attempted to claim other people in my life. But the first thing I thought when this person said you can't all have the same 6 spirit guides was, why not? And the second thing I thought was, why are we all doing this? So we thought we would examine trends in the pagan community and who we tend to work with based on what's going on in our culture.
Yeah, and in our screaming 20s, let's face it, it's pretty hellish.
And who do you ask to guide you through hell?
I ask Hades and Persephone. I'll go to Loki for, I need some laughter involved in this, and everyone's forgotten how to laugh.
That is one of the reasons I think that Loki is so prevalent for a lot of people, because he's silly and he's funny and he's mischievous and he just wants us to take good care of ourselves. But he's also teaching us how to handle the really deep, heavy shit that is being kind of foisted upon us. He also makes you do shadow work.
Yeah, he does. There's no way around it. He's a prankster for sure, the trickster energy, but he's pretty serious about doing your shadow work. He doesn't let me slack, at the very least.
No, he's starting to push me into inner child work, and I'm like, dude, but he's not letting me off the hook.
No, he doesn't back down. Nope. And then you want pancakes. Okay, I will do the pancakes as I'm doing my shadow work, because this is insane.
And you want me to eat the pancakes in devotion to you because I need a snack now, okay?
Yeah.
We have a piece of a frozen waffle sitting on his altar space right now. But this is part of the point, right? Is that so many of us are feeling the stress and the strain of a society that has been mired in toxicity for so long, and we're recognizing it. And recognizing it is a burden, because then you have to do something about it. And we are all under this really heavy burden. Add that to the fact that most of us were not gentle parented. Most of us were parented very authoritatively and even aggressively. And that takes a lot of work to try and work through and heal. The entities and the deities that we're seeing people turn to now are the ones who have dealt with the heaviness, the darkness, the shadows, who have been bad-mouthed, shunted into the corner, and feared. And we're finally looking at them and going, oh, hey, you're really misunderstood. I'm really misunderstood. Maybe you can help me.
Mm-hmm. The trends of our culture, we don't even have to go into like the obvious stuff that's happening. Like, it's screaming 20s. It's been pretty hellish. Even if you've had, like me, where lockdown and quarantine was actually a good thing, because I got to do some things that I've been backburning for quite a long time. And also not having to commute to the office meant I was healthier. There's just so much miasma of energy. And yeah, I'm turning to the ones who know exactly what to do and how to do it to get me through this.
Absolutely. Who were the first social reformers? Who were the first ones to stand up for human rights? It's these entities that have been coined as demonic or infernal. Lucifer and the devil are not the same being, but they've been so conflated over the years that he's like, you know what? I look good in horns. Let's do this. And Lucifer is so often categorized as the first entity to demand equal rights.
Mm-hmm.
You've got entities like Stolas, the stilt-legged owl who wears a scholar's cap, and he's categorized as a demon.
Mm-hmm.
Demon means something very different than it used to mean, and we actually have a whole podcast about demonic entities. But Stolas is really just a teacher. He conveys knowledge to people.
Mm-hmm.
I've also been hearing a lot of people talk about how 2022 is like the beginning of their villain origin story. We've done some of the work. We've had no choice but to do some of the work over the last 2 years. And now we're ready to step out and say, these are my boundaries. This is where I'm willing to go to and no further. I am placing myself first. I am loving myself first so that I have the capacity and the energy to love and help others. And that's one of the biggest lessons that these darker deities and entities stand for is care for the self. There's also been a rise in the use of baneful magic and the acceptance of baneful magic, like the public use of baneful magic, people actively talking about hexes and defensive protection or offensive protection in terms of magical energy, banishings and bindings, and people talking about how to use these things so that you're not impeding on another person's free will necessarily, but you are reinforcing a boundary for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's just not something you really saw previously. In the 210s, it was a very different landscape,
Yeah.
magically speaking.
I've definitely used hexing a little bit more in the Screaming 20s because boundaries, if you cross them, you need to correct your behavior.
Yeah. Along with the idea that a lot of us are shedding things we no longer need, which is, again, something that these darker deities are really good at helping you do. It's just letting go of things that aren't serving you anymore.
Yeah. I think it makes a lot of sense that everyone is turning to the quote unquote same six spiritual guides
Me too.
the last couple of years, if only because they are there and they are obviously very willing to work with everyone if you want to work with them.
Absolutely. It's been fairly recent that this rise has happened because in the 210s, you saw a lot of love deities, girl power deities, goddesses really coming to the forefront. Artemis and Diana, Athena, Aphrodite, Freya, Isis, Inanna. A lot of these really powerful goddess warriors and love deities who were teaching us how to find the beauty in ourselves and how to love ourselves. If you look at what was going on in the 210s, it makes a lot of sense. 2015 was the national legalization of same-sex marriage in the US. And that was a huge influx of this energy and this need to balance the energies within oneself.
Yeah.
People looking for love, people being able to freely and safely declare their love for each other in a public space.
Mm-hmm.
And then just a few years before that, we had the 2012 astrological event.
Or just event in general.
Yeah.
Like calendar, astrological event, everything happened in 2012. Nothing happened and everything happened. The biggest thing was that the Mayan calendar had come to an end on December 21st, 2012. It marked the end of Batun, which is a measure of time on the Mayan calendar. But because the calendar itself had come to an end, they hadn't continued it. We have no reference on the Mayan calendar to what happens beyond that point. We have a measure of fear that the world was coming to an end, as well as a really large group of people who had subconsciously started to awaken to spiritual movements or who were already into a spiritual movement and trying to hold space for a better world to manifest beyond that point of the end of the Ba'tun. And that's where you see a lot of the like love deities and girl power deities happening, because yes, you had having to balance out your energies, your internal energies. You also had a measure of equalization for women and women's rights happening. Mm-hmm. You saw a dramatic increase in awareness of witchcraft and paganism in the mainstream media, where a lot of the times during the 2010s and around 2012 and thereafter, there was a lot of attempting to continue to villainize and demonize and minimize the use of witchcraft, being a witch and being a pagan. All of those groups of people coming together and protesting and taking legal measures in certain instances for having been slandered or libeled for the practice of their religion or their beliefs, which is protected under the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. So you have a great deal of things happening in the 2010s, and it really did have to do with finding your truth, standing with your truth, loving yourself in that truth, and balancing out the energies so that way you could also allow others to be in their truth.
Yeah. There was a huge movement of women and girls who left the Christian church during the 2010s. It's become more homogenous across the board now. People of all genders and orientations are leaving the Christian church in droves, but in the 2010s, it was a lot of women and girls were leaving because they wanted to escape the misogyny that is inherent in an organization and reclaim their personal power, which is another reason why goddess worship was prevalent. Mm-hmm. So that's all we have on our topic for today. Thank you so much for listening in, and we hope you'll join us again soon. In the meantime, you can follow us for more witchy wisdom, both here and on our blog, and you can also check out our original art on Society 6 for sacred decor and more. Thanks again for joining us. Go make some magic and live your best life.
Bye!